The day I became the black sheep of Ranch, Texas, was the day I turned into their loudest legend. $400. That's the outrageous ticket Marjorie Kline and her HOA posse pinned on me for letting our family's tractor rumble, a chugging bond that fueled our hearts. They had no idea I was loaded with $8 million and a mischievous spark to rev up a storm they'd never quiet down. If you're catching this video from your tool shed to skip those HOA gripe sessions, hit me with your hideout in the comments. I'm Nathan Brody, and until 3 months ago, I was riding high on what folks might call a mechanic's jackpot. I'd spent 25 years wrenching rigs and building a repair chain across the South, from dusty lots in Lubbock to bustling yards in Mobile. When I sold it, I pocketed enough to retire at 48, ready to trade grease-stained overalls for a quieter life. My wife, Lena, a gearhead with a knack for rewiring anything, and our 15-year-old daughter, Harper, who could rebuild a carburetor blindfolded, were eager for a fresh start. So, we hauled our dreams to Ranch, Texas, chasing open fields and new horizons. Ranch was our kind of town, a 65-acre spread in a community of sprawling meadows, solid schools, and a 50-acre open field perfect for our tractor tinkering. Lena and I had bonded over engines since our first date. When she outdiagnosed me on a truck's misfire, Harper caught the bug young, her science fair projects powered by our old tractor. Betsy, a beat-up but trusty beast we'd restored together. Betsy wasn't just machinery. She was our family's pulse, hauling lumber for Lena's garden beds, towing Harper's inventions, or chugging through weekend chores with us laughing in the cab. The realtor sold us on the sunsets but skimmed over the HOA. "It's just for roads and upkeep," she said, then lowered her voice. Marjorie Kline, the HOA president, was particular about noise. I'd dealt with picky foremen. How bad could one suburban sheriff be? I found out on a bright November afternoon. Lena, Harper, and I were in our field, tuning Betsy's engine. Harper was tweaking a new throttle valve, her face lit with pride as the tractor purred smoother. Lena adjusted a spark plug, tossing me a grin. It was our first real family moment since the move, the kind that made the long haul worth it. Then a voice like a busted fan belt screeched through the air. "What is this infernal noise?" Marjorie Kline stomped up, a stout, pot-bellied woman clutching a tablet. Her face puckered like we'd revved Betsy through her living room. "Afternoon," I said, wiping my hands on a rag, just tuning our tractor. "I'm Nathan Brody. Moved in 2 months ago." I offered a handshake. She ignored it, her fingers flying across her tablet. "Mr. Brody, tractor noise is prohibited within 500 feet of the community field. HOA violation." "I'm Marjorie Kline, president. The fine is $400. Harper's smile vanished, and Lena's wrench clattered to the ground. "Hang on," I said, keeping my tone even. "The realtor said tractors were fine, and this is our property." Marjorie's smirk was colder than a seized piston. "The rule changed last month. All residents were emailed." I checked later. No email. Not even in the junk folder. "What's the issue?" I asked, patting Betsy's hood. "She's tuned, quieter than most pickups." Marjorie's eyes raked over the tractor with disdain. "Noise shatters the field's serene ambiance. Not everyone wants to endure your clunker while savoring their tranquility." Her words weren't about serenity. They were a personal jab, like we were oil stains on her pristine canvas. Harper's shoulders slumped, and Lena's eyes flashed with anger. Betsy was our family's heartbeat, our way of stitching together after the move, and Marjorie was yanking her spark plug. "We'll park her for now," I said, catching Lena's nod. "Send me the fine and rules." Marjorie's grin was smug, like she'd just won a drag race. "Check your email, Mr. Brody. We don't excuse ignorance." She marched off, her red blouse and black pants a stark blot against the golden field. Harper whispered, "Dad, why's she so mean?" "Betsy's not bothering anyone." I kept it light. Some folks crank rules louder than engines. "Kid," I said, ruffling her hair. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Marjorie's sneer, Harper's dejection, Lena's clenched fists. They spun my gears. I cracked open my laptop, diving into the HOA's underbelly. Marjorie ran Kline Vineyards, a business thriving on Ranch's pastoral allure. Her social media flaunted her vineyard's heavy equipment, harvesters and sprayers rumbling by the field, untouched by her serene ambiance rules. A buried HOA clause stopped me cold. The 50-acre field was leased from Lone Oak Properties, not HOA owned, and the lease was expiring in 3 months. This wasn't about noise, it was a land grab, and I was ready to throw Betsy into high gear and rumble right through her plans. Ever been fined for a tractor's hump? Buckle up, this fine fired up a rumble I was ready to crank. Smash that like button if your HOAs ever tried to stall your family's fun. When rules rev up for the powerful, you dig into the gears. I found allies and a plot to stall Marjorie's plans. Marjorie Kline's $400 fine for our tractor's rumble wasn't just a ticket. It was a wrench tossed into our family's engine. That night, as Lena and Harper slept, I sat under the buzz of a shop light, laptop open, tearing into the HOA's guts. What I found wasn't just red tape. It was a vineyard tycoon's scheme to claim the field. And I was ready to throw Betsy into gear and grind it to dust. If you're sneaking this video from your workbench to dodge another HOA rant, drop a comment with your hideout. This chapter's about to spark some torque. Marjorie had ruled Ranch, Texas, for a decade. Her business, Kline Vineyards, cashing in on the community's rustic charm. Her social media was a bold-faced lie. Videos of her vineyard's sprayers and harvesters roaring by the 50-acre field, captioned, "Embracing Tradition." No fines for her, no citations for serene ambiance violations. The double standard burned. But a deep dive into the HOA bylaws lit a fuse. The field, where Betsy chugged nearby, wasn't HOA property. It was leased from Lone Oak Properties, a cash-strapped developer, and the lease expired in 3 months. Marjorie's noise ban wasn't about peace. It was about clearing the land for her vineyard expansion. The next day, I met Lena Torres, a retired accountant, while she sorted mail by our ranch. Her stocky frame moved briskly, her sharp eyes glinting at 60. "Heard about your tractor fine," she said, tucking a gray curl behind her ear. "Marjorie runs this place like her vineyard." I shared the fine, Harper's disappointment, and my hunch about the field. Elena's lips pursed. She's after that field for Kline Vineyards, not the HOA. She wants more vines, bigger profits. Over coffee in her cluttered study, Elena slid me a stack of land records. "Lone Oak's in debt," she said. "They're selling assets quick." Marjorie's sniffing. "And your tractor's in her way." Elena connected me with Diego Ramos, a landscaper who'd lived in Ranch for 12 years. Diego, a lanky man in his 40s, met us in his shed, the air thick with mulch and oil. "Marjorie's been fining me forever," he said, pulling up a spreadsheet on his phone. "My mower's too loud. My van, too dirty. I'm hit 5 times as often as her pals." His data was a bombshell. Minority and new residents faced violations at triple the rate of Marjorie's allies. Find out properties often sold cheap to shell companies linked to Kline Vineyards. "She's not just policing," Diego said, voice low. "She's pushing folks out to grab their land." Their stories echoed at our first coalition meeting, held in Elena's study under a flickering bulb. 9 residents crowded in, swapping tales over iced tea. A baker, Lila Chen, described a $150 fine for excessive oven fans after she questioned an HOA budget. "My neighbor's fans are louder." "No fine," she said, eyes flashing. Carpenter, Mateo Vega, got cited for unapproved toolbox storage, despite identical setups going untouched. A nurse, Zara Patel, faced fines for noisy car doors, while Marjorie's allies' trucks roared free. Each tale revealed Marjorie's playbook: target outsiders, stack violations, and drive them to sell or silence. We built a covert crew, meeting in sheds, porches, even a tractor barn. Diego set up an encrypted chat group, and within a week, 15 households joined, sharing violation notices and clips of Marjorie's equipment rumbling penalty-free. I tapped my repair chain contacts to probe Kline Vineyards' finances. The business was a shaky rig, leveraged with loans against her vineyards, likely to fund her polished wine tastings and designer scarves. The field was her big harvest. New vines could net millions, saving her from bankruptcy. If it failed, she'd stall out. I met Rosa Salazar, A land broker with no loyalty to Marjorie. At a cafe 30 miles out. Lone Oak's desperate. She said, sipping tea. Marjorie offered $6,000 for the field. But her financing's wobbly investors are nervous. They've given her a 90-day exclusive window. But cash would trump her. My mind spun. With $8 million from my sale, I could outbid her. But we needed to let her overcommit. Elena's voice rang from our last meeting. Let her flaunt her plan. Make it loud. Then we rev up. Our coalition grew, fueled by shared grit. Marjorie's noise ban was a cog in a larger machine. 1. We were ready to dismantle. They tried to muffle us with fines, but I was tuning up a roar they couldn't silence. Keep watching. Marjorie Kline thought her $400 fine would choke out our tractor's rumble, but she'd only poured fuel on a fight she couldn't outrun. With our coalition of ranch, Texas, residents gaining traction, I saw a chance to not just push back, but to crank a rebellion that'd shake her vineyard dreams to bits. If you're watching this from your garage to dodge another HOA scolding, comment your hideout below. This chapter's about to hit full throttle. Our encrypted chat group revved with defiance. Now 18 households strong. We traded violation notices like shop rags, $100 for unapproved shed paint, $80 for excessive lawnmower hum, even $50 for non-compliant toolbox decals. Diego Ramos's spreadsheets laid bare Marjorie's game newcomers and minorities were fined 4 times more than her allies, forcing some to sell their ranches cheap to her shell companies. Her business, Kline Vineyards, thrived on our losses, and the 50-acre field was her next harvest. My repair chain fortune gave me the horsepower to stop her, but we needed to time our charge just right. I dug deeper into Marjorie's finances, using old industry contacts. Kline Vineyards was a rickety rig propped up by loans against her vineyards, likely to fund her wine galas and red blouse strut. The field was her lifeline. New vines could keep her creditors at bay. Rosa Salazar, my land broker ally, dropped a spark plug over tacos 35 miles out. Lone Oak Properties is strapped, she said, voice low. Marjorie's offering $6,000 for the field, but her investors are shaky. They need cash now, and a higher bid could snatch it. I saw my opening. With $8 million in the bank, I could outbid her with cash, but we had to let her over-rev first. Elena Torres, our coalition's sharpest wrench, laid it out in her garage, surrounded by old ledgers. Wait for her to push her field serenity fee, she said, eyes gleaming. She'll bet her name on it. Then we floor it. Diego nodded, his landscaper's hands steady. The more she clamps down, the more folks will join us when we roar. Marjorie played right into it. At the next HOA meeting, she announced a $95 monthly assessment for field preservation, flashing renderings of vineyard rows as community heritage. She didn't mention Kline Vineyards would reap the profits, but her jab at noisy newcomers like me was loud. When Lila Chen questioned the fee's cost, Marjorie pounced. Miss Chen, wasn't your bakery cited for health violations? She sneered, twisting a cleared issue into shame. The room bristled, but Lila stood firm. Her attack misfired. 3 more households joined our coalition, pushing us to 21. I met Lone Oak's VP, Carla Vega. In a plain office 40 miles away, Marjorie's $6,000 is spread over 3 years, Carla said. Her tone clipped. We're sinking and need cash fast. I leaned in. I'll offer $7,000 all cash, closing in 5 days. Her eyes lit up. That'll move the board. But Marjorie's got county ties. She'll fight dirty. I grinned. I'm banking on it. Marjorie cranked the pressure. My ranch was slammed with fines, $225 for unapproved gate hinges, $175 for improper tire tracks, $65 for Harper's wrench left out. Elena got cited for a non-compliant porch light, and Diego for excessive hedge trimmings. The worst hit when Harper came home, head low, clutching her tool belt. Kids at school called me a nuisance, she said, voice shaky. They said Betsy's noise ruins everything. I traced it to Marjorie's ally, Pamela Ruiz, who'd spread lies through her son's friends. Lena's eyes blazed, ready to storm Marjorie's gate. Elena's calm voice held us back. Wait for her gala, she said. She's tuning her own trap. For a laugh, I started planning a prank with Diego parking Betsy by Marjorie's fence, fitted with a custom muffler to blare cartoonish honks like a clown car. We'd rev it daily, starting at her Vineyard Vista Gala, just to rattle her. Our coalition met in secret, rotating hideouts to evade Marjorie's spies in Mateo Vega's workshop, Zara Patel's kitchen, a hay barn. Each story of harassment stoked our fire. When Rosa confirmed the field's soil assessment was clean, I knew we were close. Lone Oak's board was ready to sign, and Marjorie was clueless. Her gala days away, a perfect stage for her stall-out. We just had to keep Betsy idling until the moment to roar. She thought she owned the field until my tractor drowned her out. This reveal will crank your gears. Marjorie Kline's chokehold on ranch, Texas, was about to sputter like a clogged carburetor, and I held the throttle. With the 50-acre field now mine, her vineyard expansion was dead in the dirt, and I was ready to park Betsy, our tractor, by her fence and rev up a prank that'd rattle her to the bolts. If you're watching this from your tool shed to skip another HOA meltdown, comment your hideout below. This chapter's where the engine screams. Our coalition had surged to 28 households, a roaring crew fed up with Marjorie's fines and favoritism. Her $95 monthly field serenity fee had ignited outrage, especially after her HOA meeting, where she flaunted renderings of vineyard rows as ranch's legacy. She didn't mention Kline Vineyards would rake in the profits, but her barbs at clattering newcomers like me were clear. Elena Torres, Diego Ramos, and I kept my field purchase secret, using Brody Ventures LLC to hide my name. The deal closed 4 days before Marjorie's Vineyard Vista Gala, a fancy field showcase for her cronies, complete with vineyard equipment, displays her hypocrisy in full gear. I'd clinched the field from Lone Oak Properties for $7,000, outbidding Marjorie's flimsy $600,000 offer. Their VP, Carla Vega, had warned of Marjorie's county allies, but my attorney confirmed the field was private land, free from HOA control once the lease expired in 12 days. Better still, the HOAs neglect chemical runoff from their leased plots tainting the field's soil gave me grounds to end the lease early. I hired a soil scientist, whose tests showed elevated nitrates and pesticide traces, exposing Marjorie's serene ambiance as a lie. All was set for the gala, where I'd stall her show with a deed and Betsy's custom muffler, tuned to blare cartoonish honks like a circus parade. Marjorie hadn't eased off. My ranch was buried in fine $300 for unapproved barn siding, $200 for excessive engine grease, even $90 for Lena's toolbox on the porch. Elena got cited for a non-compliant flower bed, and Diego for improper mulch piles. The worst came when Harper came home, eyes red, gripping her wrench. Kids at school called us loudmouths, she said, voice breaking. They said Betsy's wrecking the town. I traced it to Marjorie's ally, Pamela Ruiz, who'd spread lies through her daughter's friends. Lena's fists clenched, ready to roll Betsy over Marjorie's lawn. Diego's steady voice kept us grounded. Wait for the gala, he said. She's building her own scrap heap. The Vineyard Vista Gala was Marjorie's big stage. She'd hung lanterns, catered barbecue, and parked her vineyard sprayers for show, ironic for someone who fined me for tractor noise. About 65 of her loyalists sipped wine, while newcomers like us were snubbed. I arrived with Elena, Diego, my attorney, a deputy, and Betsy, parked just outside her fence with a muffler rigged for maximum clown car chaos. As Marjorie raised a glass, toasting our field's future, I fired up Betsy. The tractor roared, honking like a cartoon chase, rattling the lanterns. Guests jumped, wine sloshing, as I grabbed her microphone. Folks, there's a hitch, I said, grinning. As the new owner of this 50-acre field, I'm calling you trespassers on private land. The crowd went silent. Marjorie's face turned purple. This is HOA property, she shrieked, clawing for the microphone. I held steady, waving the deed. It was Lone Oak's until I bought it 4 days ago. The HOA's lease ends in 12 days, but I'm terminating it now for soil contamination. I nodded to the deputy. You've got 10 minutes to clear out. Betsy honked again, a goofy beep-beep that sent guests scurrying. some laughing despite themselves. Marjorie screamed, "Stop that machine." But the crowd was already bolting. The gala imploded. Guests fled, glaring at Marjorie as her sprayers were towed off. By dawn, I'd posted no trespassing signs and parked Betsy by her fence, revving her daily with honks, rubber ducks, foghorns, anything to needle her. I held a press conference with the local paper announcing Lena's Field, a kids' mechanics program. I shared the soil tests, exposing the HOA's runoff nitrates and pesticides leaching into local creeks. This field deserves better, I told reporters. We'll clean it up for our kids. Marjorie sued for public nuisance, but my deed and lease termination crushed her case. She tried new fines, $350 for unapproved field markers, $250 for excessive honking. But residents were waking up. At the next HOA meeting, Zara Patel stood, voice sharp. Marjorie spent $6,000 on a vineyard gate for her pals while our roads cracked. Who's she serving? The crowd cheered. An audit motion passed, and rumors of Marjorie's vineyard scheme turned her allies against her. Our coalition hit 35 households, and the field was ours to rev. This rumble's shaking things up. Smash that like button and subscribe for the final chapter. Comment if you'd rev a tractor to mess with an HOA bully. This rumble's shaking things up. Comment if you'd rev a tractor to mess with an HOA bully. From a fine to a field, humming with freedom. See how we turned Marjorie's whine into a victory roar. Marjorie Kline's engine of control in Ranch, Texas, had blown a gasket, and the 50-acre field I'd claimed was now Lena's Field, a roaring hub for our community. Her $400 fine for our tractor's rumble had sparked a rebellion, and as her vineyard dreams sputtered out, we built a future that hummed with grit and glee. If you're watching this from your workshop to skip another HOA tirade, comment your hideout below. This final chapter's about flooring it, and it's gonna spark your screen. The Vineyard Vista Gala's collapse, with Betsy's cartoonish honks stealing the show, left Marjorie backfiring. Her lawsuit for public nuisance was scrapped when my attorney waived the field deed and proof of the HOA's expired lease. She tried piling on fines, $425 for unapproved trail markers, $300 for excessive muffler noise, but her rig was stalling. Zara Patel's audit call at the HOA meeting had cracked the chassis. The vote passed, and whispers of Marjorie's vineyard scheme spread like oil on pavement. Our coalition, now 40 households, pinned Diego Ramos's data on discriminatory fines to the community board. Lila Chen posted photos of her excessive fans beside Marjorie's allies' louder setups. Captioned, "Justice." The audit uncovered a junkyard. $65,000 funneled to a vineyard showcase for Kline Vineyard's clients. $28,000 in consulting fees to Marjorie's sister. Residents roared for accountability, and her allies scattered like loose bolts. Marjorie's desperation revved up one moonlit night. My field cameras caught her and Pamela Ruiz dumping bags of rock salt across Lena's field, aiming to poison the soil and frame me for neglect. I sent the footage to the sheriff. Tests confirmed the salt was agricultural grade, meant to sabotage our mechanics program and kill the grass. Marjorie was charged with criminal trespassing and environmental damage. As she was booked, investigators tore into HOA finances, finding diverted funds, selective enforcement, and evidence she'd manipulated ranch sales for Kline Vineyards. Civil lawsuits from harassed residents stacked up, and her business faced bankruptcy. I seized the chance to retool Ranch. I invited all residents except HOA brass to a meeting in my shop, packed with 55 households under fluorescent lights. I laid out my plan. Transfer Lena's Field to a community trust, but with torque. First, the HOA needed new leadership with term limits and open elections. Second, all rules would be stripped for fairness. Third, an ethics board would rotate yearly. Then I dropped a spark plug, using my repair chain contacts. I said, "I've bought mortgage notes on 20% of ranches, including Marjorie's." The crowd gasped. With Elena's accounting savvy, I'd targeted her allies' debt. "I won't foreclose," I said, "but I'll offer low-rate refinancing after we fix this HOA." The vote to overhaul the HOA was unanimous. Marjorie resigned, buried in charges and lawsuits. Pamela Ruiz quit when I announced free mechanics workshops at Lena's field, excluding HOA leaders' families until they stepped down. 3 more board members bailed, citing time constraints. Elena Torres, our accountant ally, was elected president, vowing transparency. She led a rule purge, axing clauses like maximum engine decibels. The noise ban was junked, replaced with equipment-friendly guidelines. Marjorie's last sputter was a smear, claiming Lena's field was a toxic dump. I countered with public soil tests, showing cleaner land than under HOA neglect. Thanks to our remediation, her final ploy came when she offered Mateo Vega dropped fines to undermine me. Mateo recorded it. "I can erase your violations." Marjorie's voice hissed. "Just scare Brody about field costs." Mateo shared it in our chat group, and the clip went viral locally. "She's scrapped," Elena said, grinning. 4 laughs. We kept the prank alive. I parked Betsy by Marjorie's fence daily, her muffler honking rubber ducks and kazoos, driving her nuts until she fled. At a town fair, our coalition rolled out Betsy with a Marjorie's muffler banner, honking silly tunes as kids cheered. 6 months later, Lena, Harper, and I hosted a tractor parade at Lena's field. Families gathered, kids building mini engines, parents swapping tales across old divides. Harper, beaming, taught a group to tune a spark plug. Lena led a tractor pull, her laughter ringing. "This is us," she said, patting Betsy. I nodded, feeling the field's pulse. The land, once Marjorie's prize, was now a hub for all. Locked in the community trust, ranch became a blueprint for HOA reform. With nearby towns adopting our ethics code, Marjorie skipped town. Her ranch sold at a loss, tainted by her legacy. I was urged to run for county council after the mayor, her crony, quit amid scrutiny, but I passed. Instead, I expanded Lena's field with more workshops, keeping our family's spark alive. The community loved our tractor parades, with Betsy's goofy honks a running gag, turning Marjorie's defeat into local lore. As Lena, Harper, and I watched the parade's tractors chug under a crimson sunset, the field felt alive. Justice wasn't just outgunning Marjorie, it was building a place where freedom roared. We'd turned her whine into a revved-up future, proving a $400 fine could ignite a revolution and a good honk. This engine's unstoppable. Smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and comment your HOA nightmares or dream tractor pranks. How would you rev up your own Marjorie?